It's your girl Nicole, and today we're back with an amazing snatch prereq, the Kettlebell Hike, as well as the Kettlebell Single Arm Swing. All right, so I hope that you've been having fun these past couple days. You're getting towards the end of these snatch prerequisites, and you are doing so amazingly well. This is a really important day because it can really clean up our setup and our swing. So I hope that you're in for it. I hope that you're open-minded and come in with maybe even just one little thing could change something for your kettlebell practice, yeah? And in other news, I hope you're feeling yourself today. Personally, with this white shirt cut off and hoops, I feel a little bit like J-Lo. A little bit of realness for you. Okay, so for the kettlebell setup, I'm gonna grab a lighter bell. You know, unnecessary work doesn't need to happen. So for the kettlebell setup, you wanna be behind the bell. So if you didn't know, now you know. You'll see a lot of people in classes that start their swings, they just pick it up and they try to get that momentum of the kettlebell with their hips or their arms from standing. And that a lot of times goes into the lower back and it's not fun, yeah? So the best way to set up for the kettlebell swing is going to be about a foot behind it and do a little heel toe to the side and find a comfortable position. That way, your feet and your bell draw a triangle where the bell is at the top. Now, a lot of people get confused with how to initially set up to grab the kettlebell. So let's work from bottom to top here, okay? So when you're actually doing kettlebell swings, you will be hinging over. You will keep that nice deep hinge where the definition of a hinge is your hips stay over your knees. So we know that a squat is knees and hips parallel, but a hinge means that our hips are over our knees, not directly over, but they're just higher than them. They probably are behind your knees actually because you're sending your booty back, right? So your shin and your knees are in a vertical angle and booty goes back. So that is your swing, but it's not your very first rep of the swing. The very first rep, you need to give that bell some power to go behind you and then explode. So you have, you start strong. And the way that that's gonna happen is not from up here. I can barely even reach the bell, right? So this motion is for once the bell is already in the air. In order to reach the bell, you want to do a hike. So we already have our foot position. You want to remember the tripod foot, as we've been talking about, a little repetitive, but the pad of your big toe, your little toe, and your heel, everything is nice and planted. That way, we don't start lifting our heels, or a lot of what I see is lifting the toes as well when you get into the swing. So everything is grounded, everything. Then you're gonna bend the knees and it's gonna be like a squatty hinge. So you can see that my butt is still a little bit higher than my knees, right? I'm not all the way down here in a squat, but I'm much lower than I would normally be. That's why this is sometimes called a squatty hinge, because this is my normal hinge, and there is a deeper knee flexion in a squatty hinge. And this is really important so that you can get the leverage you need to get the bell going. So I'm setting up here. I've got a nice flat back, right? So this flat back means I'm not rounded. It means I'm not arcing my booty back. It's in a neutral pelvis position where we talked about the rib cage and the pelvis kiss together. And then I'm gonna go ahead from here and grab onto the bell. Now I'm not just gonna leave it sitting here, I'm actually gonna make it an extension of my arms by angling it towards me, all right? So that's one way to do it. And then you're gonna break the bell in half. So if you think about snapping a twig in half, then that's the same thing that you're going to do here, and it's gonna actively roll your shoulders down your back. So now we've got a really good setup. And the last thing that I always do is a little bounce. And that bounce is gonna help you get your weight in your heels, get your weight in your glutes, and feel your hamstrings. So if you're a little too low, you won't feel your hamstrings, and you'll know, okay, I gotta come up here, and I can kind of like open my glutes up and feel back here when I'm bouncing, and then you kind of like lean back just slightly with that weight, so a slight weight shift back. posterior weight shift. So it's about 60% of your weight is shifting behind you, about 40% is in the front, all right? And that is your setup. This is a perfect setup for your kettlebell swing. The only other thing I would say is your feet alignment is going to be important. So you don't necessarily want your knees facing forward and your toes out, or your toes facing, you want to make sure that your knee is aligned over those two front toes, no matter whether everything is perfectly straight or it's just slightly pointed out. Mine is just slightly pointed out here, okay? Because what we see often happen, like why is this setup so important, is a lot of people will start with the bell way out here. Their hips are super high and their arms are like, their whole body is pouring and spilling forward. And we don't want that. You don't want the milk to spill out of the glass, okay? You want to keep the milk in the glass. So don't cry over spilt milk. Basically just don't have the bell too far out in front of you. Don't have your weight shifted forward. All right, that is the setup. Next, we're going to talk about the kettlebell hike.